You're watching The Community MMA.
What up? This your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is The Community MMA, aka TCMMA podcast. Check us out everywhere, right? Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your podcasts. So we got a lot to talk about today. Big fights last night to end an 18-week run of UFC fights, meaning there's no fights this Saturday night. It's crazy. I don't remember a run that long since I started doing this. And your boy's exhausted and ready for a week off. Maybe we can get to a few more podcasts now as we've been drained with fight predictions and reactions and the like. Also, you got big news on Khamzat Chimaev. We'll get to that here after the recap from UFC Vegas 79 last night. So, you got it's 18 weeks in a row. The UFC is throwing together fights, trying to complete this thing. And, as we went on, you had 15 fights in some of the earlier cards, and now you're drained down to 10 or 11 fights over the last 2 or 3 weeks. UFC 293 went down a few weeks back, and since then, the amount of fights has tapered off. And you got to expect that after 18 straight weeks. I mean, the UFC has a huge roster, but at the same time, how long can they continue fighting back to back to back for 18 weeks straight before you start to run out of fighters, right? It's not designed to go 18 straight weeks. It might be designed to go 9 to 12 straight weeks at a time with a week or two off and then reset. But 18 straight weeks, that's crazy. So let's kick this thing off with last night's main event. You had Shevchenko the previous week getting a draw against Grasso. That was kind of a letdown. Last night you had a letdown in the way this thing finished. And if you saw it, you already know. But if you didn't, I don't want to give it away. So let's get to the reaction right now. Gamrot versus Fiziev. Gamrot's got Fiziev pinned up against the fence. 3:20 left. Round 2. Good fight so far. Not a lot of control time. A little bit of clinch time by Mateusz. But he still trails in significant strikes, even though he leads in head strikes 11-4. Fiziev comes forward. Oh, Fiziev looked like he hurt his right leg. Oh, he goes down, and Gamrot pounds away, and that's it. It's over. And, man, what a way to finish this fight, man. Rafael Fiziev did something to his left knee or foot. It's hard to tell. He just lays on his back. And he landed a kick. You heard it. Whop. And as soon as he landed that kick, he went back, stepped on his leg, and went down. And Mateusz Gamrot don't care. He's celebrating like this is a big win, as he probably should. I mean, it's a big fight either way. But the bottom line is you don't want to win that way. When it just seemed like Mateusz was getting started. And he's being helped up to the stool now. And that's going to be a tough loss for Rafael Fiziev. And here you see the kick. Boom, right on the elbow. Shin to elbow. Yeah. And it's hard to tell what actually happened. It could have just really hurt. But let's hear this in live sound. Here we go, live sound. You can hear the smack. Boom. Oh. Yeah, he went right down, man. Yeah, so Fiziev falls on an injury, and it turns out it wasn't even the kick leg. It was the plant leg. So when he planted and overextended on the kick, he twisted his knee. So it appears. I mean, we'll get more information today, but he injured himself, and that took him out of the fight. And Mateusz Gamrot wasted no time getting on top, pounding away until the ref stopped it. He wanted to make sure he's getting a TKO his way, and he did. He got the win. And, regardless of how you win, it's still a big win for Gamrot. Anytime you're in a lightweight fight, I mean, it's 6 versus 7. This is like 1 versus 2 in any other division. I mean, all these guys are good. You also had Marina Rodriguez in a rematch with Michelle Waterson-Gomez at a different weight class. But it didn't change the result in this one. Now it's Waterson-Gomez driving Marina up against the fence, and now Marina's trying to switch as she does. Lands a big knee and a right elbow. Goodness gracious. She finally spins Waterson around and lands a knee to the stomach area. Now she got the back of the head. Looking to drive another knee, she does. And that's going to become a problem here soon. She lands another knee to the body. And Waterson Gomez is scrambling now. She's in trouble. She falls on her back. She's taking punches now. Now she goes to her stomach, and that's it. The ref stops it. Forget the submission, which Marina Rodriguez would be obliged to go for. Instead, she's got Michelle Waterson in trouble, and Michelle Waterson is finished. The ref jumps in and stops it. Yeah, so Marina Rodriguez wins again, this time in the women's strawweight division. And she's rolling, like 17-3 or somewhere along those lines. She's rolling right now and continues to put together win after win after win. And I'll get you the official record right now. Yep, 17-3-2 for the Brazilian. Then, in the fight just before this, you had Brian Battle versus AJ Fletcher, number 10, both guys 10-2. So big test for Brian Battle, and he came through. Brian Battle continues to maneuver on top as he looks to take the back, and he does. Ooh, and he's trying to get that rear locked in, but AJ Fletcher's fighting through it. Oh, Brian Battle locks it in deep now. Oh, Fletcher's in trouble here. There's nothing he can do. He's not even fighting it. He's not even fighting it. He doesn't want to tap, but he does. Forget about it. And Brian Battle, to me, just continues to get better and better and better every fight. And this is a true test, right? Because they're both 10-2. But he just continued to control AJ Fletcher in the clinch, despite Fletcher being shorter, stockier, lower to the ground. I think it might be the other way around, but Battle just used his height and his size, both in the striking game, in the clinch, and then on the ground. As he got the legs wrapped around, ended up taking the back, and on the second attempt, locks in the rear. He led 42-22 in significant strikes, 330 of control on one takedown in dominating fashion here in a welterweight showdown at UFC Vegas 79. Yeah, so Brian Battle doing his thing. He got the win. And then, to me, the finish of the night, Tim Means last night. It's one thing when you just hit a guy with that punch and finish him.
Boom!
Right? I mean, you're going back and forth, and all of a sudden you land a big right.
Boom!
But in this one, Tim Means finished it on a succession of every possible knees, elbows, body shots, head strikes. Just overwhelming force to get the victory. Here's that reaction. Tim Means landing some big shots now, and he's continually coming forward. He's got that lead leg kick, keeping Fialho off balance. And he's really taking over this fight here, especially in the second and third round. A big leg kick. Oh, boy. Fialho is already wobbly. And he's got a long time left, 350 left. Oh, he gets tagged with a left. Takes a left knee, another left, a left to the body, and Means is opening up here. Fialho goes down, and that's it. The ref waves it off. Man. Tim Means, boy. And I don't remember seeing a finish like that from him in terms of just... I mean, he was just finishing Fialho. Hit him with everything. And I mean everything. He hit him with everything. Knees, elbows, body shots. Head strikes. Both with the punches, elbows, and kicks. All in about 15 seconds. So, just a dominating performance for him. And that's kind of how things went last night. As you had a big night for several fighters as we get into last night's results. We finished 8-3. And what an 18-week run this was for us. We had one losing record of the 18 that came, I think it was last week or the week before. We struggled a little bit. But last night we didn't. I mean, we lost Jacob Malkoun on a disqualification. Tamaris Vidal in the first fight of the night, always tough. And Ricardo Ramos let us down, but everyone else won. Tim Means, Muhammad Usman had a great fight. Lost round one, finished strong in second, third, got the win. Mizuki won after a long absence in the octagon. Miles Johns, Brian Battle, Marina Rodriguez, Bryce Mitchell, Doug Nasty, baby, and Mateusz Gamrot. So that moves us to 8-3. We're 24-9 in the main event and 261 and 144 on the year. And I like that. well over 100 more wins than losses. So it's been a great 2023 for us, and we're heading into the fourth quarter when fighting resumes, right? We just got 3 months left, October, November, and December, and what a 3 months that is going to be. Make no mistake about it. So we got some Khamzat news to get into, but just, a quick look forward as we get this off week and we start to get prepared with predictions. You got UFC 294, 295, and 296. And it's all the big names, right? When you look at our due list, which is just our favorite fighters, I mean, you got Khamzat up there, he's fighting. You got Islam Makhachev and Oliveira, they're both in the top 5 or 6. They're fighting. John Jones is fighting at 295. Yuri Prochazka, number 4, he's fighting at 295. You got Leon Edwards and Colby Covington 8 versus 10 at UFC 296, which I thought was in January, but it's actually in December. So, I mean, this year is getting ready to finish with a bang. And when we roll into 2024, we're going to have a good understanding of who the champions are. Do we have new champions? Do we have champions that hold on to the belt? There's a lot we're going to find out here over the next few months. As we march forward, Khamzat Chimaev back in the news. It appears that he's emigrated from Sweden to the UAE, so he won't be representing Sweden anymore in the UFC, making that very clear. And what it comes down to is the way Sweden, for him, right? I mean, it is what it is, isn't representing Islam the way he'd like to see it, and feels more comfortable representing the UAE, and it is what it is. I mean, I support him in whatever he's got to do. I just want to see him fight and win. You know what I'm saying?
Khamzat Chimaev!
Yeah. And it seems like for him in Sweden, there's
Chaos.
just chaos. So it's time for him to represent a new place. And to me, as a fan, it's not really a big deal. I mean, what he represents or where he represents. I'm just focused on the fighting. Now, I do support guys for what they represent. Bryce Mitchell, right? Bringing the Bible into the octagon last night. Colby Covington, right? For what he represents. Conor McGregor, what he represents. But it doesn't turn me off when a guy represents something that I may not agree with, because I'm more interested in the fights first and foremost. Now, Khamzat versus Paulo Costa, we did a poll to kind of see what the fans thought. And, you got a lot of supporters and you got a lot of haters. I mean, it's real simple. But right now, early on, Khamzat Chimaev eating up over 70% of the vote, 73% to be exact, believe that Khamzat will pull this thing out against Paulo Costa. And I tend to agree with that, right? I think Khamzat is going to dominate this fight. 70% of the poll is a pretty big deal. I mean, it's 7 out of 10 people going with Khamzat. Really more than 7 out of 10. But if you're looking at 10 people, at least 7 of those 10 are picking Khamzat to win. Even some of the haters in there are picking Khamzat because they know Paulo Costa does not have great takedown defense. He's not good on the ground, but he is a big guy. And we'll see if Khamzat wants to take this thing to the ground. Is he going to be able to beat a bigger opponent on the ground that way, or is he going to have to stand and strike? And I don't think it really matters, because Khamzat is a much bigger fighter at middleweight as opposed to welterweight. And we've been used to seeing him at welterweight, kind of skinny, being drained, missing weight against Nate Diaz. Well, that's not going to be a problem anymore, as he's going to be huge at 185, and he'll be even bigger one day at 205. But we'll get there when we got to. Right now, I'm just letting you know Khamzat is about to dominate Paulo Costa. Now, as we get ourselves into the Q&A, and Trey says, man, each day is as long as a year now. Yeah, it seems like forever, because we're waiting for this guy to fight. I mean, Khamzat, we're just waiting and waiting and waiting. Got another one weighing in on Yuri. You got it, man. You know. Yeah, Yuri's coming back, and he's coming back for the belt. Not worried about Alex Pereira, unless the injury to Yuri is so bad that he's not the same. And that is yet to be determined, right? And you got to factor that into any prediction. In terms of last night, you have Simon saying always on point, great channel, bro. And he's reacting to the Rafael Fiziev Mateusz Gamrot prediction, which went our way. Not the way we wanted to, but at the end of the day, the fight still went our way with Gamrot winning. Kenneth Bruner weighing in with a long passage. I love it. Khamzat's physique is looking ridiculous in the new photos I've seen of him. He spent the last year growing into his 185-pound body. He's probably put on 10 to 15 pounds of muscle. Khamzat will be 205 plus when he steps into the cage on fight night. I expect a clinic performance from Khamzat with a finish in the first round. I also expect Liskarov to mop the floor with a Mavov. Middleweight will soon be the new lightweight. Yeah, and I agree, except the only thing I would say is that Khamzat is going to dominate the division. Underneath Khamzat, it might be like the lightweight. And I guess if you look at Makhachev and his dominance that's coming, I guess you could say it will be the new lightweight because you have a dominant champion. But everyone underneath that is vying for the number one spot. Anyone can win on any given day. So I got to agree with Kenneth on that one. At Fatman23 says, hope Yuri comes back fully recovered from that shoulder. I don't know why I have a feeling that that's going to be an issue. I mean, yeah, you got to consider that. On another note, I heard Khamzat repeatedly and easily beat him in sparring when they were training with another promotion. What do you think about that story? I think Khamzat beats everyone on the planet at middleweight and light heavyweight. I don't even think it's close. Certain guys could present a problem if they have really good takedown defense or really good grappling, and Khamzat doesn't want to take that chance. Bo Nickel 3 years from now could be a problem, for sure, because he can match up well with Khamzat. I'm not saying he's going to beat him, but I'm saying as he gets better and better, which he's already really good, that could be a problem. But we'll have to wait and see, because they're both going to continue winning, so that fight's going to happen eventually. At Bucket to Star says the Wolf is coming. Yes, he is. D. Micah Reynolds, this is going to be good. Next in line for a title shot. Khamzat, DDP, Strickland. We're going to see who is the best, for sure. Kenneth Bruner, and that's the comment we already read, talking about the physique and everything at 185. So, you got a lot of comments on Khamzat. You got at 170, Dyra saying Sugar Sean, Strickland, Covington, and Trump 2024. So you got all the Americans coming for the titles. And of course, another comment says and new. Yeah, so you got a lot of Americans coming for the titles, at least in the short term. Then you got IC saying UFC is going to be WWE. And I see what you're saying. I mean, listen, they're combined now, the merger, but it's not going to become the WWE. There's going to be a lot of cross promotion going on. I even think the WWE might pick some things up from the UFC, like the stare down. Nothing wrong with that. If I was WWE, I'd even get into the press conferences and stuff. Who cares if it's choreographed? Get into the press conferences, get the fans hyped for the fights. You already have a huge fan base that's going to tune into that stuff. And there's a lot more that WWE can do and pick up from the UFC. And there's also some things that UFC could pick up from WWE. But to believe for a second that the UFC is going to become, for lack of better words, fake or choreographed, it's just not going to happen. I mean, it'll become obvious. I mean, you're putting guys in the octagon and they're fighting. And the difference is the WWE knows how it's going to turn out. The UFC does not. And that takes a different form of planning and reaction. But the UFC is good enough to always march forward because unlike WWE, where they got maybe 2 or 3 fighters in each weight class that can really win the title or people will believe could win it, the UFC has unlimited numbers. So it doesn't really matter who wins. It matters how you promote the next fight. And the UFC is masterful at that. So there'll be some combining of things and ideas, but the UFC is still the UFC. Make no mistake about it. And that's just what I'm here to tell you. But listen, it's been another great show. We're going to wrap this thing up. 18 weeks straight is over. We get the off week. We can get into a couple contender series over the next 2 weeks before the UFC heads back to the Apex Center, which they're going to be there for a while now before they head to Abu Dhabi on October 21st for UFC 294. And we got a lot of work as far as predictions to do, but we'll get to all that. But it is good to have a week off. For now, this your boy Chris Cross. I hope you have a great day and God bless. Peace.